Hello everyone, welcome back to a new episode of Dungeon Crawl Stone Soup. I have some sad news for this episode, which is that I already recorded it, and it turns out that when I was futzing with some settings to try to address other problems, I ended up accidentally muting my microphone for the recording of this whole episode. So all I've got here is a movie of what I did, but nothing about what I was saying. And I don't want to just leave the video up totally muted. And I don't want to record, 33 minutes of re-post commentary. But a few interesting things did happen in this video that I would like to highlight, I suppose. So we went down to Orc, and I was talking here a lot about whether it would make sense to switch gods to, Okawaru. We're not using heroism much, right? We kind of already got the +8 quick blade. So I was contemplating the idea of switching to either Kikubaaqudgha for the necromancy and, which lets you deal with stuff that you can't really stab by just requesting a bunch of corpses be delivered and then turning them into zombies. Or to Judith Menos for the extra stealth boost. But this incurs the wrath of Okawaru, who wants you to be faithful. And so he sends a bunch of high-level monsters at you, which is the main thing I was worried about. Everything in the dungeon we're fighting at this point in the game seems pretty tame, but Okawaru's punishers could be a big problem. And I've abandoned Okawaru once, and it was a very harrowing experience. I made it out of there after using a lot of my consumables, just barely, and survived to win the game. So I was afraid to do it this game, but I hem and haw about it a lot, and decided to put it off until I've finished off Orc 4, which goes fairly uneventfully, I would say. We end up finding, I don't know, an amulet upgrade that, yeah, so this amulet here, right, is nice. It's got a bunch of resists. It gives us slaying. So I picked that up in Orc 4. That's the main upgrade we find there. And I think a +2 robe of magic resistance as well off of an Orc sorcerer. But at this point, I decide, yes, let's abandon Okawaru, go for Kiku to get all the corpse delivery, to get the pain brand on our weapon. And let's see. Here I am on the altar, just unable to make up my mind. I've decided at this point to switch, or I wouldn't be up here, but it's hard to work up the conviction to press P and then hit capital Y. Yes, I want to switch. And I actually back out here the first time, I think. Yeah. But I decided to go for it and head back to Orc. Head back into the deeper dungeon, actually. So we kill some stuff. No Spriggan, or no Kiku Piety yet. No Okawaru Wrath yet. Things are going just fine. I'm talking about what you can do to try to mitigate the effects of Okawaru summoning all these dangerous enemies to fight you. And I have to run away from, this boggarts, and it looks like the entry to vaults probably is around here somewhere. I kill a couple of them and go back upstairs. And then I've at this point built up enough experience that apparently Okawaru is willing to send us some punishers. So we revisit this little labyrinth entrance that we fought much earlier, and isn't it nice that all this stuff is so easy where it used to be quite difficult to kill the axe. Okay, so we're killing all this stuff. I don't want to skip too far ahead because there is an interesting situation that arises that I would like to... Yeah, so we kill a ghost that I don't want to skip any of. Okay, so we just kill some killer bees. All right, so here's where Okawaru summons his first set of punishers while we're, I think, resting in this hallway or something. So I'm going to wait for them to show up on screen, and then I want to pause and look over the tactical situation. I'm talking about possibly digging a kill hole in there at the moment, because Okawaru can only summon enemies in areas you can see. And so if you know you're going to get some Wrath, you can sort of reduce its potency by hiding in a wall. But I don't really know when I'm getting Wrath, so... Alright, so here we are. And I at once recognize, of course, that this is a serious threat. This is our first set of Punishers, and fortunately, we're still invisible, so only the Frost Giant can see us. But, you know, any of these guys, they hit pretty hard. And I'm slowed as well. So I think the first thing I do... I wish I could, like, step forward in, like, one turn at a time. But I'm just watching a video here. Not, you know, watching a crawl replay. It looks like the first thing I do is cast Blink, which seems pretty reasonable. Get away from that stuff. And I decide to read Teleport, because I want to get out of here. Right? And so far this all seems fine, although... So I really wanted to... I mean, it's not exactly a spoiler, because we're watching this fight play out. Well, so, I mean, the spoiler is that at the end of this, I die, and it doesn't take very long. This is the end of the character and the end of the series, and I'm really sad that we have to do it this way in post-commentary. But I also didn't want to just... Even if this video had recorded perfectly, I wanted to do this watch over anyway, so I can sort of mourn and do a post-mortem and talk about what I could have done better. So we're down here, and I think what I should have done at this point is use haste, which would counteract the slow I have. I've recognized that this is a dangerous situation, and so the next thing I do is cast Teleport, which is... It's hard to even find that frame, but I'm sure I do it somewhere, right? Yeah, here I am. I've cast Teleport. But I'm slowed, and like Deep Elf Blade Masters are very fast, so stuff is moving pretty quickly at this point. And I've taken a little damage, like he hit me once. And it wasn't that bad, it seemed like. But I've teleported. I should have hasted and then teleported is my post-analysis. It turned out that being slowed meant all of my actions that I was trying to use to get away were just not really very effective, and a lot of stuff was happening in between turns. So now that I have this Deep Elf Blade Master adjacent to me, and I've got a teleport coming, I'm thinking to myself, I just need to get away from this, so I cast Blink, and it fails. I'm fairly sure it fails twice in a row here. Let's actually just watch this in real time, because I think I'm playing way too fast. That's the other thing. So I read teleportation here, and I say, oh no, they're next to me. Well, how do you get enemies to not be next to you? You know, what was I thinking of quaffing? I don't know. But I cast Blink, and there. So I took 10 damage in the turn I cast Blink. You know, I got hit once, not very hard, by the Mottled Draconian. But then I tried to cast Blink again. Now, note that Blink is at 5% fail rate. It's quite unlikely to fail to cast it twice in a row. But there's two problems with this. One, I don't even look at the fail rate during the game. I only know this because I checked afterwards. And I knew it was low, so maybe that's reasonable, but I should have at least been thinking about it. And two, like, casting Blink might not really have addressed the problem. I might have blinked somewhere else quite dangerous next to the Frost Giant or something. I just sort of was not treating this very seriously. I thought that Teleport would kick in well before I would die. I have lots of evasion. If I can just blink around once or twice, I'll be okay. But in this turn, I miscast Blink, and all of my remaining 53 hit points are gone. The Deep Elf Blade Master gets 2 turns because I'm slow and he's fast. He hits me quite hard. The Frost Giant hits me with a Bolt of Cold. More stuff might even have hit me if I had stayed alive. I don't know. So, I mean, there's a few takeaways from all this, which is like, one, don't mess with the gods. If you're really confident and you know what you're doing, it can be a good play to switch gods, but it's risky for anybody. I mean, there are some gods that are pretty easy to abandon, but Okawaru is notoriously dangerous. And I was just overconfident. My character had a bunch of escape options, I was saying to myself, and indeed to you guys. Like, I have this wand of teleportation, I have hasting, I have all this great stuff, I have heal wounds, but I didn't actually use any of it. I just sort of, I froze up and did what you're not supposed to do in Crawl, which is play quickly. When you're in danger, you need to slow down. Stop to think about your actions, look for other plans. I knew I was in a dangerous scenario, but I didn't really recognize how dangerous because my health bar was still kind of high. And this is sort of part of the perils of playing a Spriggan, is that maybe the situation most of the time would have been just fine because I have high evasion. Yeah, I probably could have gotten out of it most of the time even. But if the worst case for a situation is to kill you, you kind of have to play like the worst case is what's going to happen. Even if the average case is you get out fine. And this is just, it's something that's so hard to get the hang of, is, playing slowly when you're in danger. I've won a lot of characters. I've killed a lot too, but if you're constantly having trouble on, the earlier dungeon, or just, getting into the mid-game successfully but then can't really advance, try doing this with some of your games. Watch, if you can, record and watch it, that's great. Or if you can watch a replay online, it's a little bit hard to set up, but you can do it. You can watch a replay of anything you played online. Or just if you can remember what happens, try to think through what you could have done differently. For me, there were a lot of choices. How much blinking did I actually have, I wonder? I probably skipped past the death screen pretty fast. But, I had 3 scrolls of blinking. I could have used one of those. And this, I was going to have to fight like a dozen Okawaru Punisher packs, and you don't want to use a scroll of blinking for all of them. So maybe I would have decided against it and just used teleportation and blink, but I should have at least used haste. I have so much. And I got slowed this time. Godwrath sometimes just slows you. Not always, but sometimes. I just wasn't prepared for the consequences of Godwrath, and I didn't take the tactical situation seriously enough. So I'm still feeling kind of down about this character. We got 3 points this week, which is acceptable. I'm going to need some time to mourn. That's what happens when you get these disappointing deaths, is just feels daunting to start up a new game. But I don't imagine it'll be too long before I'm back on the horse, as they say. So again, I want to apologize to you guys for this recording having to be post-commentary rather than live in the action as it happens. But I have things all set up so it'll work again the next time. Oh, gosh, can you guys hear? My neighbor is practicing the guitar, which is an annoying. Yeah, I can hear it I can see it on the on the mixer. I'm sorry, I think he's been doing that this whole time. I don't usually notice it these days. Anyway, so that's all for this series. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.